Today, Donald Trump pretended to live out his fantasy as an international oil broker after hosting more than a dozen oil executives at the White House this afternoon. After that meeting, Trump said this.
These are the biggest companies in the world sitting around this table. They know the risks. I mean, there are risks. We're going to help them out. We're going to make it real easy. They're going to be there for a long time. We're going to be there together for a long, long time. Venezuela needs money, and we're going to make sure that they get money, and we're going to get money, and the oil companies are going to make something for the work they do, and they're going to get back their money. We're devising a formula, but it won't be so much of a formula. It's going to be what they need. We're going to take care of what they need. There'll be plenty left over. We're going to have a lot of money left over. And the money left over is going to the United States of America, and the oil companies are going to be very happy.
It's like a TV giveaway. You get some money, and you get some money, and don't stop and ask about the details. Because just 3 days ago, Donald Trump told NBC News something very different. And I quote, "A tremendous amount of money will have to be spent, and the oil companies will spend it, and then they'll get reimbursed by us or through revenue." Let's be clear about what the president is saying. Taxpayer dollars could be used to subsidize American oil companies to drill and rebuild oil production in Venezuela. And yet Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, insists the entire operation will cost American taxpayers nothing at all.
U.S. involvement in Venezuela, how much will it cost?
Well, it isn't going to cost us any money. For example, this oil deal that's happening doesn't cost us any money. On the contrary, and if it opens up,
costs no money to the American taxpayer.
Look, I don't have the numbers.
Donald Trump admits it will take a tremendous amount of money, but Marco Rubio says it will cost us nothing. Tonight, the Washington Post reports the oil companies are concerned that the numbers, quote, don't add up. CEO Darren Woods said that Venezuela is, quote, uninvestable after Trump asked him how long it would take the firm to restart operations there. He added that, quote, significant changes have to be made to those commercial frameworks, the legal system. There has to be durable investment protections, and there needs to be a rewrite of the laws governing oil production in Venezuela. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is asking Congress for nearly double the Pentagon budget. And Donald Trump has already said he wants to keep the United States in Venezuela for, quote, a long time. That means long-term costs, long-term risks, and a long-term financial drag on the American people, all while the Republican-led Congress and Republican president refuse to help Americans afford health insurance. How do American taxpayer dollars for Venezuela help American families pay their rent, their mortgage, their grocery bills? Well, I'll tell you, it doesn't. Democrats in Congress don't think so either, and now they want to stop Trump from spending American taxpayer dollars to foreign adventurism and to force Republicans to say where they stand on making Venezuela great again with American money. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. He is a member of the House Oversight and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, today you introduced the No Occupation of Venezuela, or NOVA Act, in the House of Representatives. What exactly would it prevent Trump from doing in Venezuela?
Well, thank you so much. Basically, Joaquin Castro and I introduced this bill to basically make it clear that taxpayer funds should not be used to occupy or, quote unquote, run Venezuela. And your setup piece explained exactly why we need this legislation, because we fear that taxpayer resources are going to be used essentially to subsidize oil companies' exploitation of Venezuelan oil resources. And, when these oil executives came to the White House today and said, it's uninvestable and, it's going to take a lot of money and resources, that is kind of a wake up call to the rest of us in the sense that we are the ones, we the taxpayers will be on the hook for providing those incentives and resources to basically help Trump realize his vision of basically, taking over Venezuelan oil resources. And that's something that my constituents want no part of.
If the Trump administration proceeds with oil subsidies or committing more military personnel to Venezuela, what can Democrats do?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think what we did or what we saw in the Senate with regard to the War Powers Act resolution is very important. It was a bipartisan move, and that really has to do with preventing armed forces, our U.S. armed forces, from being placed in Venezuela, and that's important. Our bill, mine and Joaquin Castro's bill, essentially is talking about taxpayer subsidies to essentially run the country in various regards, whether it's running their healthcare system or running their oil exploitation system. We don't want any part of that. I can tell you, I have not yet met a single person who said, yeah, it's a good idea to go and engage in another Iraq or Afghanistan-style occupation of Venezuela instead of focusing on the pressing economic problems at home. Today, I was at a childcare facility where I met a working mom who's about to have her childcare assistance cut off by the Trump administration in an illegal freeze, by the way, which will make it harder for her to work if she doesn't have that assistance. And so she's facing an affordability crisis with regard to childcare, just as others are facing a tremendous affordability crisis with regard to groceries, rent, healthcare, or education. And that is what we need to be focused on right now.
Well, given all those things you just said, what concerns you most about Trump tying U.S. foreign policy to oil production, especially when Americans are struggling with high costs here at home?
Well, look, I think that this smacks of imperialism or colonialism to me, where you basically are trying to, in essence, conquer another country for its natural resources. None of those experiments in history end up well. They're ruinous both for the country that is being exploited or colonized, and it's ruinous for the colonizer. And it always ends in war. And we don't want any part of war. I don't know a single person who wants another endless war or conflict in Venezuela. And this is the policy that Donald Trump, this is the road that Donald Trump is taking us down, whether it's in Venezuela or, for that matter, Greenland or Mexico or Colombia.
Mm-hmm. Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois, thank you very much for coming back to The Last Word.
Thank you.
And coming up, Donald Trump says the only thing that can stop him is, quote, my own morality, my own mind.